Hello friends, welcome to Akulmach Live and my name is Chandr Kant. Today we want to discuss a very important issues related to corporates, especially around the learning and development budgets. You see, what happens is that every corporate has a L&D budget, and usually it is about 5 to 10% of the total HR budget. Primarily because the corporates are thinking to train their people, their machineries are well oiled and things like that. But there are very few leadership programs which are organized, and leadership programs, when they are organized, they are classroom type programs, and which has very little relevance to the actual leadership development. So this is a subject we want to discuss today. But before we start the discussion, a word on our giveaway. Akulmach works with many SMEs and startups world over, helping them in not only building their sales and marketing teams, but also help them in improving their success rate. As you can see, we have summarized our years of knowledge into these easy to follow steps, which can be used by any smart leader to promote their group or a company. In order to encourage people to take the right step at the right time, we have used this proprietary graph in our corporate memorabilia so that the knowledge can be accessed by whoever, whenever, wherever it is needed. You can become eligible to get one of these beautiful gifts delivered to your doorstep for free. All you need to do is to subscribe our channel and smash that like button. Also, please watch this entire video and provide your valuable comments, suggestions, or you could also share your experiences. Person with the best comment and interaction would be chosen to become a free recipient of one of these displayed items here. In addition, we would invite you to Akulmach Live to participate in our show as a distinguished panelist. What are you waiting for, friends? Go for it. Now, let's get back to our discussion. Hello, friends. Let me introduce our guest to you today. His name is Mr. Neville Gaunt. He's joining us from London. He is also chairman of Mindfit Limited and a very senior member of our industry. So, without further ado, let me present Mr. Neville Gaunt to you.
Good morning. As I move my head backwards and forwards, it's a beautiful sunny day here in London. So we're moving towards the summer, which is really good news for everybody because we can get out and get some Zs, get some rays through our body. And it's a pleasure to be with you today because we're going to talk about a very interesting subject. Over the weekend, it was sad to report that the Duke of Edinburgh, Prince Philip, sadly passed away after almost 100 years on this planet. And he made some amazing inroads, despite the fact not being as well known as the Queen. But we're going to have a little discussion about the Duke, not just the Duke of Edinburgh's award that we talked about in a previous program, but what type of programs, what type of processes you could adopt in your organization with just a little bit of thought, how to get your team working together. And I'm actually going to put my hat on as being the interviewer for a change. So I'm actually going to interview Chandra because he's got an amazing story of when he joined corporate life. So over to you, Chandra. Let's hear your little story.
Well, Neville, I think you are putting me in spot as usual, but I'm happy to do that for the sake of people who are watching our program. So let me share a few instances from my life journey. And we know that when we are in the corporate, there are set budgets for learning and development set up by all companies. So right now, the norm in India is about 10%. So 10% of the HR budget goes into L&D activities, and they had to spend it. So they go around and keep talking about what is that you need best. The thing is that the clarity of what is needed best is really the attitude development and the teamwork, because from my point of view, when the person joins the organization, there's a whole lot of process around it. There is an interview, there is referral checks, and there is examinations. Then there is a meeting with the senior leadership. After multiple grinds, and another further grind, a person is taken. For instance, if somebody has to join in Microsoft, before the pandemic, the joining process used to be about a year. And if somebody has to join Tata's, it used to be more than a year. So you can imagine, Neville, when I tell you that, the people who are joining these corporates are already going through the grind of joining them. So that means the HR process has already taken shape. They have evaluated them on basic qualities. What is needed is that these best quality people need to work together. And the corporate plans are not really focused on that. They are rather focused on individual development. So in one of these companies where I used to work, some great HR leader had a great thought that they should focus on the teamwork exercise, and the teamwork should be really a good teamwork. And hence they sent us to a camp which was managed by ex-army officers, and they had an area in the middle of the jungle with the army type style camping setup. So this is something that I would like to share with you today. But over to you, any specific thing that you want to add here?
Well, as you're speaking away there and relaying the footprint in many respects as to how people join these large organizations. Of course, these large organizations got large budgets to do this, but small organizations have no budget. And yet, as we do know, this element of teamwork is really important to the way your organization's going to succeed. In fact, I would go and say as much as 90% of your success is going to be on the ability of people to work together. And only 10% is going to be everything else. So, and that's just my experience over my corporate life and my life advising SMEs. So, in many respects, what you're about to say to us is common sense, really. But if you haven't got the budget for it, don't worry too much, because you can actually go and do these things yourself. So over to you, Chandra. Let's hear about your amazing story, because believe you me, ladies and gentlemen, this is truly inspirational.
Well, Neville, this outbound activity was organized, and this was in the middle of the jungle, as I said. And you had to take a bus ride because there was no car road. There's a gravel road which could not reach to the end point. So there used to be a army truck which could take you there. So once you're there, the tents were assigned, and before the start of the program, the organizer said that you're not allowed to carry any watches, radios, mobile phones, and anything to distract, things like magazines and things like that. You're supposed to go whatever is necessary for you. Some people may have some medicines, so only those things you can carry, and a change for 3 days in terms of clothes. So they advised very strictly, and being an army man, they actually came to our office and they did a orientation program before we actually arrived at their camp. They told us exactly what you should not bring, you should avoid, and a little bit training was also given. When we reached the campsite, refreshments were given to us in army mugs, not like a cutlery or anything. These are the army mugs. And we had our refreshment and a canteen. So they gave us only two instruments. One was the mug and a canteen, and which was again army style canteen. And they told us what is to be done now. So next steps beyond the orientation they gave us in the office, they said that there'll be no music, there'll be campfire in the end, and after that there'll be no light also. So the light used to be there only for an hour. They will switch off all lights after 8 p.m. and we got to do things in the dark. That means we need to learn how to do things. And it was a very surprising experience, Neville, that if you adjust your eyes for about 10 minutes, you start seeing in pitch black darkness, you start seeing things, which was it was a learning from the first learning we got, that it's not really dark, it's actually less light, and our eyes will get adjusted to see in the dark. And during this camping outbound activity, they actually gave us a lot of tasks to do. Things like how to make ropes without ropes being available. You have to search for raw material, some twines, make them rope structure like that. It may break, rebuild it again, and things like that. So the whole point of this camp was, there is nothing official about it. There are no corporate lessons. There is no classroom, outbound classrooms. It's basically doing things together. So all 100 people, the entire team was there, and they were doing things which you will never do in your real life. You will never make a rope, you will never make a Burma bridge, you will never make a raft, and no equipment is given to you. Not even things like a simple thing like rope was given to you. You had to collect food in terms of berries or whatever. So that gave us a lot of insight of how to do things together, and also identify what nature provides you, which most of us have forgotten. So this particular camp I did about more than 20 years back, but it still lingers in my mind, because a lot of vital learnings I got, which otherwise, if I had not gone to this camp along with my colleagues, I would not have got exposed to the real life. When you're nothing, not even a flashlight with you, what you do, things like that, Neville.
No, it's absolutely brilliant. And if we can delve a little bit more into this, because I'm absolutely fascinated because I spent over 20 years in the Scouts. If truth be known, it was well over 30 years in the Scouts, because even before becoming a Scout, my older brother joined the Cubs, and I wanted to be a Cub Scout. So even at the young age of like 3 or 4, you can't join the Cubs that time until you were rising 5, almost like going to school. And I can remember putting on his Cub jersey, his sweater, and I looked a little bit like Droopy, one of the dwarves, where the sleeves were too long, and this jumper, as it was actually touching the floor. It looked like a bit of a nightshirt, really. So I was fascinated from a very young age, and I'm now very interested in delving a little deeper here about what it did for you. It was in your formative years. You were still fairly young in the corporate scene. What sort of things were you surprised at that you hadn't been taught at school, but were coming to the forefront during this short trip away?
Well, I think the first thing was the seniority levels were totally diminished as soon as you arrive at the camp. There is nothing called your designation there. No seniors, no juniors. We are all part of the same team. And then based on certain logic, they divided the team into 4 groups. And each 4 groups were given similar task, but they were given different directions. So if we are going on a jungle trek, they will send us in 4 directions, and the 4 groups will have to find ways to finish that task separately without even coming across each other. And they had actually surveyed the area. They knew exactly what is a trail, where it goes, where it reaches, and then they used to do these simple things, and they used to call it treasure hunt. So what you got to do is you have to find a stick, for example, and they call it treasure hunt, and a source of a river, a local river, and they called it treasure hunt. And one particular incident which I remember was the treasure hunt started at 8 p.m. after our refreshments, and when the lights went off in the entire camp, then they started it, and it was a surprise. They said, you have to do treasure hunt now, and you have to return before 12 o'clock. And you have to do it successfully, and if you do not return before midnight, then you lost the race. So they again sent 4 groups out, and we were supposed to do things with our own management style and teamwork. And they let loose all of us, knowing that these boys are city dwellers, these boys and men, and they have never seen jungle. There is a risk of scorpions and snakes and whatnot, and even nocturnal animals in the jungle. And they told us a simple thing like, you have to make roll call after every 5 minutes. And so we used to do roll call, and it actually did two things. One is we were counting our men in the dark when we were actually taking the trail, and we are finding the path, trying to find the path properly. At the same time, the roll call actually kept the animals away because we were making some noises, and animals apparently don't like noises. Their logic goes haywire when they hear these noises because they're on their spree, on their mission to hunt. So this that just roll call kept us safe. So I think later on when we returned after finishing our job, they told us, what did you learn today? You learned to go work as a team. You are making a roll call every 5 minutes. And then we invented our own ways. We were singing songs because roll call after some time becomes boring. So then we started cracking jokes. So we came up with our own method. And the third thing that we learned is that, when you survive in the jungle, when you're caught in an unpleasant situation, by just changing your attitude, that unpleasant situation becomes your advantage. So these are few things which I still remember because of this training.
That's absolutely brilliant, and thank you for sharing that insight today. But now I want to go on to a little later. So now you've been on this, wonderful 2 or 3 day course away, with no of the normal amenities that you had then. No phone, no radio, no music, nothing. Perhaps not even matches to light a fire. So you had to learn how to light a fire and build a raft and survive effectively. But now let's take you back into the office. So you've done this fantastic course with 100 people out there, and you've survived. You've worked as a team. Your leadership qualities have been developed. Your communication skills are probably at the best they've ever been, because as you say, you imagined, roll call was boring. So you created ways of making it enjoyable, making it fun. And at the same time, remember, you were trying to survive. So there were two things going on in your mind at the time. But now you're back in the office. So I'm going to say, what happened a week after you got back in the office? Were people still buzzing from that time away? Or were some people overthinking it or not referring back to what was happening after a week with the majority of people?
Neville, very surprisingly, we behaved more like one cohesive organism. I will put it that way. Absolutely, there was no difference between you and me, him and her. We were working like one team, absolutely relying on each other, having faith on each other. I think that lasted for about a month, maybe about 3 weeks. After that, it started slowly dwindling away, and after a couple of months, maybe 1 or 2 months or 45 days, we were back to our normal old ways of red tapeism, politics, and stuff like that. I think we should have repeated that course a couple of other times, at least 4 times in a year, to have any value of that course.
And you've hit the nail on the head, really, because you probably hear me saying a little and often. It's a bit like marketing. Okay, let's take it into another arena. Marketing is not a one-off exercise. A company that's marketing their business keeps dripping, 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 because eventually you get people engaged in what you're doing. On the flip side, what you experienced was great camaraderie over a short period of time. And as you said yourself, and off camera, you and I have spoken about the fact that you actually maintained that camaraderie right the way through the rest of your life. It was such a big impact on you that it changed the way you did things. And that's why you are who you are today. But you're actually unusual. Because it made a big impact, you've gone out of your way to do things for yourself. So you actually didn't need to go on. It'd be great to go on another repeat and repeat and repeat. But the interesting thing is, it's been proven that if you go on a repeat and repeat and repeat, you start to lose the impact of it because you're doing the same thing again. And some people in the team will not appreciate doing the same thing again. they will actually want to do different things. So this actually is an interesting insight into this is the reason why training doesn't work. Because in the first instance, you're doing something absolutely new. But if you repeat it, you're not doing it new again. It'll be new to people that really didn't pick it up the first time, but it won't be new to those people that want more. So immediately we're actually diverting away from what the whole purpose of that training program was. But thank you for sharing this fascinating insight. And what I would like to tell our viewers is that this is nothing new. In fact, they've made a TV program around it. It's called I'm a Celebrity, Get Me Out of Here. Now, for lots of people that are listening here, lots of our Indian viewers, they may have seen this on a YouTube channel. And it's a fascinating arena. So for 2 weeks, they take celebrities. Why celebrities? Because they want to make it entertaining. They take them into a jungle type setting. Again, it's a bit orchestrated because they're not going to put you hugely at risk. And over 2 weeks, you create a king and a queen of the jungle. And that's done by a public vote. So who's getting on with everybody else? Who's chipping in and who's doing some of these trials? Who's being nominated for these trials by the public audience? And the thing is, go and have a look at this because it's online. But more importantly, go and talk to your children. When they go and get blankets and put it over a stool or a chair, and they imagine they're camping. So they're already doing it in your house. If you haven't noticed it, go and ask them. Ask them what they're doing. And you could actually do some of this at home. So you don't need to have a very expensive training program because it won't have been cheap what you went on, Chandra, would it? It'd have been quite expensive. You don't have to go on an expensive program like that. You don't have to go and join the Duke of Edinburgh's award, and you don't have to come online and do your passport to grow, even though each of these things reduce in cost. It's about your time. It's about how you invest your time. So just spend a day with your family, putting today's technology to one side. No phones, no music, no iPads, no lights, nothing. Turn the lights off in the house. You can still do this in your own apartment or in your own home. And just set yourself a few tasks, and you'll be surprised at how much fun you can have. Because the key to this is having fun. So I'm going to ask you a simple question, CK. Did you have fun on that program?
I had a lot of fun because we did things for the first time in our life. I think most of us had a lot of fun. And in fact, I would like to share one particular exercise that we did was, these guys took us to a lake shore, and they left us there. In fact, we trekked to that lake, and they said, you're supposed to survive. And they had not purposely given any breakfast to us. So we were supposed to light the fire, cook something, whatever we find in the jungle. We were hungry because of, we were trekking also. There was no food at all. We were hungry like hell. So we had to do all that as one team, a company of 15 people. So we did that. And after that, we were supposed to cross the lake. And to cross the lake, we had to apply our mind. How do we cross a lake? Because not everybody is a swimmer, and lake is not we knew the basic that lake is not very buoyant, unlike a river or a sea. Lake, if you don't know swimming, then lakes can be very deadly. So we knew about that. So we had to build a raft, and we had no instrument with us. So we had to collect the wood. We spent about an hour collecting wood from whatever, we had to collect the dead wood, not the live wood. So we collected it, we made ropes, built a raft for 15 people. The problem is we had no knowledge about Archimedes' principle. I mean, we had the knowledge, but we didn't apply it. So in the middle of the lake, the raft started coming out, started sinking. I mean, it could hold till the time it could hold. After that, it started spreading. So a lot of people who knew swimming jumped into it, and they made a lot of noise. Hey, ho, ho, let's paddle, let's do that, and all that. A lot of people, So that created such a big, friendly teamwork environment. Some people cannot survive against odds, whereas others can survive, not only survive, but also help others. So I think I would say that, as I said in the beginning, the idea for team building exercise is to make teams, because we are not actually giving them corporate training, because we are doing all sorts of examinations, interviews, all sorts of things before hiring people. So we should have faith in the ability of the people in terms of their knowledge and their ability to do things. The problem is people cannot work together. So I think the L&D budget should be spent more towards team building, whether it is an army training, which I'm trying to explain today, or some other program. But I think that is what I want to tell you, Neville, today.
No, that's brilliant. And like anything else, we go through 14 years of formal education. Some go on to university, which is another 3 or 4 years. And we never actually do a team exam. Now, that to me is criminal. I mean, I was lucky. I was in the Scouts. Every Scout night was a team exam. We worked together. We had leaders, we had followers, but ultimately it was about everyone, no one's left behind. We're in this together. And COVID has shown us that we are in this together and no one should be left behind. In fact, most organizations around the world, or, or governments around the world, they're actually saying we need to look after our critically sick, the most damaged people out there, because they're the ones that are going to be the most affected. So in other words, no one gets left behind. So we're actually seeing it on a world stage that we are a caring nation. We are a caring community, and that's part of being human. But how many organizations work like that? How many give leadership to the younger people in the team and say, well, you've never been a leader before. How about leading a project and asking them what project they'd like to lead? Really engaging them, getting their excitement, their juices flowing at the beginning and saying, you're not going to fail because I'm here to help you. And the team are here to help you. And if you feel out of depth, ask the team, because it's the team that's going to make us successful. Now, I don't know many leaders in the world that do this, but I do know that the ones that do are the most successful. So there's the paradox, and that's the challenge for today. Thanks for introducing your little personal experience, Chandra, and I'm sure all the people that you were working with at the time that actually see this video can relate to that occasion. And they've probably got their own story to tell. So come on, if you see this video and you remember CK from over 20 years ago, come on and have a chat with us, because we'd like to know what it meant for you. Where's your experience taken you? Did it really impact you as it impacted Chandra, as the Scouts impacted me, as my conversations with the Duke of Edinburgh's award impacted me, how YP2G is impacting lots of young people around the world? Come and tell us your story, because this is how we develop. This is how we learn. This is how we progress. So, CK, bit different today. You were on the back foot, as you say. You were the interviewee. Bit of a surprise for you. And believe you me, everybody, this wasn't practiced, and he didn't have a clue what was coming at him. But as ever, the consummate professional came to the table. So I hope you've enjoyed this series today, and we look forward to doing something different tomorrow.
Absolutely, Neville. In fact, I'm trying to reach out to my Infosys BBU colleagues who were with me. Many of us are now running our own companies. So why don't you come, as Neville said, join us and share your experience from your point of view. I think that program, all of us remember the team of BBU. in Infosys. If you come forward, we will bring you live in our show. Neville, thank you so much for finding time and even trying to get this thing out of me. So thank you so much. We will catch up again
My
tomorrow.
pleasure. Absolutely. Have a good day, everybody.